If I can show them that there's a way to use your passions and actually make a living off of it without losing yourself in the industrial world and giving up your culture and traditions to succeed, that would be amazing. My name is Keelan Patrickin, Norwegian and a little bit Irish on my mother's side, and on my dad's side I'm Maliseet Mi'kmaq. Growing up, I lived in a log cabin, which was actually built by my great-grandfather and my grandfather and my uncles and stuff like that, and it's in the middle of nowhere, technically, in a woods. We had no running water or an indoor bathroom or anything like that, and no power or electricity until I was probably early, like a young adult. Yeah, it's sort of, I'm trying to make it affect my life in more of a positive way than a negative way. Where I grew up, my family has a huge history of opiate addiction and things like that, and alcoholism. So that's something I also struggled with for a very long time. And that's actually how I ended up going into the program, which helped me get out of province. I did like the detox, and I went rehab, and then I ended up in the psychiatric ward for 6 months because I had nowhere else to go, and all that kind of stuff, pending charges and things, and court dates coming up and all that stuff. But I stayed there because there are group homes, but the group homes are always full. So sometimes it's better just to stay in the hospital until another opportunity comes up. And so since I didn't have really a home to go to, they decided that I would be the perfect candidate since I was also the perfect age to try this opportunity program. So I was like technically homeschooled or unschooled, whichever you want to call it, for my whole life up until I went to Sheridan, basically. So coming to Sheridan was like the first time ever trying out the whole school environment thing, and it's like completely different than anything I've ever experienced before. I feel like it's easier for some people sometimes because they've already had that kind of routine in their life, but like that was completely sort of like a culture shock for me. When I came up here, I moved into an apartment building, and I had never even seen an apartment building with more than, say, like 4 floors at most. Like, I thought the hospital was big, and that's like 3 floors. And even like the city of Halifax, I hadn't really been in those buildings. Like, you see them, but they're not nearly as tall as what Toronto or Oakville buildings are like, especially where people live. My background's influenced my art in ways such as like traditional Mi'kmaq art and stuff like that, like baskets, canoes. Birch bark has influenced it a lot, all that kind of things. And on the Norwegian side, very much influenced by like the Norse gods and things like that. So I'm Indigenous. I have white privilege because I share my mother's features and just carry my father's genetics. So it's interesting because I'm happy to have this white privilege, but at the same time, it can be difficult because when you come from like a really, like very much traditional, somewhat hardcore area of reserve, people judge you also. There's sort of like reverse racism too. The current project I'm working on right now in glass actually is I'm doing a series of kiln casted or hot poured West African black rhinoceros skulls, and since they're extinct now, I can kind of relate with that a little bit from my dad's side of the family. The Beothuk people of Newfoundland are completely gone now because they were also hunted to extinction. So I kind of am sort of partial to things that go extinct and sort of like remembering the process of how it happened. I grew up in the middle of nowhere. I would just go in the woods a lot and all that kind of stuff, like fishing and hunting and things like that, of course. So that's also probably influenced my artwork a little bit too, because I also kind of like bringing that perspective to, especially like this school, because a lot of people I meet, they can't even imagine what that's like really, and a lot of people don't realize that there are still people living like that don't really have the option. Living in Oakville, it's still really hard to be in touch with nature, especially just due to the sheer amount of people. So, yeah, that's another reason I guess why I try and incorporate nature a lot into my artwork, is because it's something I still really miss. I would really like to go back home at some point, but I don't have the funding or ability to do that right now. I have quite a few hopes for the future, actually, so I kind of wanted to give back to the people who helped me have the opportunity to succeed. So if I could be successful and bring that back, that would be amazing.